Et voilà. Je m'excuse, j'ai dû changer les piles, mais je suis revenu. On va regarder des autres pommes de terre, puis sorry. Here we have more potatoes. Don't know why, just seem to like potatoes. Those would be my Yukon Golds. And here we have this year's crop of garlic, looking extremely healthy. And I'm anticipating quite a lot of stinky, sharp-tasting, delicious garlic, which I'll need for cooking up all the greens I'm growing. Over here, there's some Egyptian onions, and they're coming along okay. And I have here a couple of caged grape tomatoes. I find that 2 grape tomato plants usually is quite abundant. Now here, in this bizarre mess of cages, safe from the rabbits and the deer, I have some cabbage coming along, and some frilly lettuce, and some butter crunch lettuce, and more cabbage, and more lettuce. And over here I have my mesclun patch number 1, and what I do is I find it's quite nice to eat the mesclun when it's about 4 or 5 inches tall, but later on I let it grow up and use the greens for Chinese cooking and Hmong style cooking, and eat a lot of that every day if I can. Here I have some raised beds, and in there, the main reason they're raised is for growing carrots to keep them away from the root nematodes and also the maggots, and also so they don't get stunted in some packed soil that's down below, so they have some loose soil. Now what I did was I planted with the carrots, you can see little bits of carrots in there, I planted a whole bunch of radish, and I'll be cutting all the radish greens and cooking those with some black-eyed peas and cumin and or some Campbell's cream and mushroom soup, and making a very delicious meal to go on rice. One of my favorite lunches is radish greens and black-eyed peas and cumin. Anyway, as the roots die from where I clip the radish greens, that'll open up some oxygen and some space, and as they decompose will provide nourishment to the carrots, at least in theory. Now over here on their side are some tomato cages I'll be using later, but I planted my peas inside the cages so that the peas will grow up, as you can see, alongside the cages, and that'll provide support, and also it keeps the deer from eating all the tender young pea plants. The deer will eat, of course, anything they can get their mitts on. Here I have some spinach, which is germinated quite well, and a couple patches where it didn't come up. I put some Swiss chard that I'd grown inside, and it transplanted nicely. Here is a row of Chinese gailan, which obviously didn't come up. Here's a row of beets, which in another week I'll thin. Another row of beets, and another row of beets. Some years I don't grow any beets, some years I grow a lot. I think this is a beet year. And again, where there's a gap, it's where germination was spotty, so I put in some Swiss chard to take advantage of that space. They're really basically the same plant, it's just that Swiss chard doesn't have a root that you can eat. Over here is shallots, and I've got a few clumps of those. They're actually not that easy to grow, I find, at home, but I like to do a few of them. Mostly I buy my shallots at Oriental food stores. Here we have a row of kale, soon needing to be thinned. Here's a row of radishes that I'm growing for the roots, and again soon need to be thinned. Here we have some frilly mustard, needs to be thinned. Here we have some turnip, needs to be thinned. Here we have some flat leaf mustard, also known as spinach mustard, which also needs to be thinned. Here are onions grown very close together, strictly for green onions, or scallions if you call them back east. And they're just about ready to harvest, maybe another day or two, and I'll just come with a pitchfork and pull them out, and I'll cook up the the green onions like asparagus. You know, you steam them and put them in a creamy cheese sauce. Here we have a treat for the rabbits. It's kohlrabi. I grow it as a catch crop. Rabbits by preference will eat kohlrabi leaves and leave everything else alone. At least that's the theory. And then after they've eaten the leaves, you still get to eat the kohlrabis. Here's some Swiss chard. Here's a volunteer self-seeded arugula from last year. I have it all over the garden, which is nice. And here's some more spinach or something or other. Here is mesclun bed number 2. And this has a slightly different variety, but again, I will be eating it as salad in a week or so, and for the rest of the summer I will let it grow up into big plants that I cut frequently and cook in Hmong style or Chinese style. I have a few peppers here in this row and some turnips that will go pulled eventually. Here we have basil, which transplanted quite nicely. Also, in about a month I will plant a bunch of basil seeds. I don't like to put the seeds in the soil until the first week of July. Here is some Vietnamese coriander, which I find essential to most Hmong cooking. Some lemongrass, again essential for Hmong cooking. The herb garden, I've got some sage, tarragon, mint, savory. This is a beautiful caraway plant gone to seed, and I'm looking forward to those caraway seeds. Have thyme, chives, some salad burnet, and last year's parsley, which still has not bolted, and then this year's parsley, which has transplanted very, very nicely. I have some assorted bits of turnip here and there. I'll be pulling those soon and eating the greens and planting dill. And gosh, that's just about it. Let me see if I can get a perspective shot for the 2nd of June. Things seem to be coming along quite nicely, and I think there's going to be a lot of food, and I'll eat it all and become a fat pig. It'll be great. And I'll see you again later. Thanks for coming along with me. Bye.